What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Mill. Jay Miller, if you like. So let's get into it. I got my NFL Plus back and got to watch some of the film of the Detroit Lions, specifically their last game against the Seattle Seahawks. I don't want to, you know, give everybody too many tools here to kind of, clown me after, whatever happens. But I don't. Okay, so the Lions got Jared Goff. They got David Montgomery. They got Jameer Gibbs. They got Williams. They got St. Brown. They have Sam Laporta. All these players are awesome, right? They have a good offensive line on paper. But I don't necessarily see this being a game that the Cowboys have no chance in. Like, a lot of the media that's going around right now is selling you this game as the Cowboys are going to get blown out, right? If the Cowboys don't show up, which is true, if they don't show up, they're going to get blown out. But they're like, the talent, basically, it looks like everybody's telling me the talent gap between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys is so gigantic that the Cowboys have no shot in this game. From what I've seen on film, the Cowboys absolutely have a shot in this game. The Cowboys have a chance to beat the Detroit Lions. Now, the way I would attack the Detroit Lions is through their offensive line, and I know that sounds crazy, right? Because their offensive line on paper is supposed to be unbeatable, unstoppable, just unflappable. They are freaking the '99 St. Louis Rams. They're the greatest show on turf. Marshall Faulk is over there. Torrey Holt's over there. Isaac Bruce is over there. Kurt Warner's over there. Orlando Pace is over there. Like, what are you going to do against these guys? Dude, I'm telling you, listen, they are a really good team, and they are a tough team, but they are not they're not that far removed from the Cowboys' talent, so much so that the Cowboys are going to be uncompetitive in this game. The Cowboys are going to be competitive against the Lions. This is not going to be a New Orleans Saints 44-19, type of game. This is not going to be what we've seen from the Cowboys earlier in the season, which, listen, the Cowboys still have some kinks to work out. Could we go into this game and have the Detroit Lions play their best game of the season? Have the offensive line firing all cylinders. Have Jared Goff sitting back there just dropping dimes on everyone. Sure, that could be the case. But Goff's going to golf, and the Lions are going to lion. And I'm sorry. I'm not saying the Cowboys are going to win this game, but I don't see this being how it's being sold. It's being sold as the Cowboys are going to lose, 57-10, 44-3. That I don't see that. I don't see it on the film. I don't see their offensive line playing so well that they're just gonna dominate your front seven. And in our secondary, we actually have some really good matchups for their skill players. Trayvon Diggs is a good matchup for Williams. Jordan Lewis is a good matchup for Amon-Ra. Our safeties and Kalen Carson and Deron Bland's coming back this week. Those are all good matchups for their skill position players. I would take our secondary versus their skill position players any day of the week. It's going to come down to Linville Joseph. It's going to come down to Mozzie Smith. It's going to come down to Carl Lawson. It's going to come down to Chauncey Golston. It's going to come down to probably Deron Bland this week, because it looks like from the injury report that I saw, Eric Kendricks is dealing with a shoulder and he's dealing with a calf, which means there's a chance that he's probably not going to play this week. So you're going to have, Leofau, Overshown, and Damone Clark. Now, Damone Clark normally has a hard time with instincts. He has a hard time seeing, diagnosing, knowing where to go. But I do have some faith that with someone like Overshown, with someone like Maris Leofau, who's a little bit better in that aspect, can keep Damone Clark on the right path, and then he can use his athletic ability to get to the running back and make plays, to bring the tight end down in the open field. I actually think that the Cowboys actually have a really decent chance. So if I'm the Detroit Lions, I'm probably still trying to do what other teams have done, which is attack the Cowboys on the edge. But not even just the edge as far as the defensive ends, because I think actually missing Micah Parsons has kind of solidified the defensive line a little bit as far as in the run game. So when you're trying to attack those edges, those defensive ends, like Chauncey Golston's a 295-pound defensive end. Carl Lawson's a 265, 270-pound defensive end. So you're not just going to take those guys like you would a 235-pound Micah Parsons and blow them off the ball and call it a day. But I mean the edges as far as attacking the corners, right? Specifically Trayvon Diggs, because he's not necessarily that interested in tackling. You don't necessarily want to try that with Deron Bland because he's physical. He'll get in there. Kalen Carson will hit. Jordan Lewis will hit. So if I'm the Detroit Lions, I try to attack that edge. Now, what I do as the Cowboys to mitigate that, maybe this is the type of game where I play more Marquise Bell, a little bit more Wanye Thomas, bring them down in the box, and specifically bring them down to Trayvon Diggs' side, unless the Lions are specifically overloaded to the opposite side to try to isolate Trayvon Diggs on the other side, which if I'm the Lions offensive coordinator, I definitely do that, right? I bring a tight end and I put him on the opposite side of Trayvon Diggs. And then I line my fullback off kilter opposite Trayvon Diggs. And then before the snap goes, I motion that fullback, slide him over just a little bit to be on the weak side. And then I run that toss sweep, pull my two offensive linemen out to Trayvon Diggs' side, plus the fullback going out there, so that now you got a little bit of mismatch in numbers and you attack that edge. That's what I would do as the offensive coordinator. But on the defensive side, I would bring a safety down to Trayvon Diggs' side if it's not overloaded that way, right? Because the Lions can't just run that formation 72 times. You know what I'm saying? Or they could. Hey, screw it, right? Yes, you could, but I doubt that's the game plan. So I don't think the Lions are going to do that. So I would actually walk a safety down on Trayvon Diggs' side to make sure that he doesn't have to necessarily make that decision. Make Trayvon Diggs the outside contained man, so his job is not necessarily to tackle the running back, right? His job is to protect the sideline. So either if it comes to my side, I'm going to ride that dude out of bounds. But if it comes to my side and that dude doesn't want to be ridden out of bounds, I'm going to force that back inside and force it to my more sure tacklers, my help. That's how you protect your quarterback who's not necessarily interested in tackling and may not necessarily be the most physical tackler. So that's what I would do as the Cowboys. And I think how the Cowboys should attack the Detroit Lions is via their offensive line, right? You're going to have your front four down guys, and you got a lot of power guys up there, which actually plays well in a game like this. And then I would send extra guys. Damone Clark, right? Not necessarily good at reading and reacting to what's going on. But if you have a guy like Overshown out there or Leofau out there, or both of your guys, right? So you're your base defense. I would actually have Damone Clark playing going forward. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. Nope. I'm going to have Damone Clark playing going forward. He's going to be the guy that if I am Mike Zimmer, I'm using him to attack the line of scrimmage. I'm using him on my blitzes because he has very good speed, very good power. And once he plays going forward and you take responsibility off his plate, you say, hey, Damone Clark, just cause havoc. Blow that center up. Blow that fullback up. Go get that running back. You don't have to read and diagnose. On the snap of the play, attack the middle of the pocket. Or on the snap of the play, attack the outside of the pocket. Whichever way you want to go. But I would actually use Damone Clark in a similar way that Mike Zimmer talked about using Micah Parsons, which is moving him all over the field and having him go get ball. See ball, get ball. That's it. Take everything else off of Damone Clark's plate. Don't ask him to be dropping in coverage. Don't ask him to read and react. None of that stuff. Let's go. On third down, on second down and long, even on first downs. If you're in the game, your only responsibility is to go forward and attack. We'll leave it up to our other two linebackers to read what's going on and adjust and make plays, whether it's somebody coming out of the backfield on a screen, whether it's a wheel route, whether it's a tight end, showing like he's going to block down at the line of scrimmage and then all of a sudden he's popping out to run a route. Whatever those things are, I leave that on my other corners. I leave that on the running backs. If I want to be successful, I take Damone Clark and I make him attack. I make him go forward because that's when he's at his best. When he doesn't have to think, he just is allowed to be an athlete and go thump somebody, right? I think a lot of times with some of these players, these coaches try to make them fit into the system and try to develop certain parts of their game that were never there to begin with. And with some players, that works, right? Because they take to that development, and all of a sudden, you have this player who didn't have these things in their repertoire, and now they do, and they become a much better player. On the same token, you have certain players where you try to develop those things, and all it does is slow them down. All it does is confuse them. So recognizing those types of things early and putting those players in the best position to succeed is what coaches are supposed to do. But I haven't seen anything on tape that tells me all of a sudden the Detroit Lions are freaking Megatron, and you got no chance against them. The Cowboys have a chance this week. I'm not saying I'm going to pick the Cowboys, but the Cowboys do have a chance this week. So don't let anybody sell you that the Cowboys defense can't stop this unstoppable juggernaut of a Detroit offense. This is not an all-time offense, right? Jared Goff may have went 18 for 18 last week, and that's because, or the week before, but that's because the other team let them establish the run, and then they were all off balance. If the Cowboys can make sure that they've been doing, or that they do what they've been doing the last couple of weeks, which is keep the run in check. You don't have to be awesome against the run, right? You don't have to be your New York Giants game of allowing 28 yards on 25 carries. That's not what we got to do. The Steelers game is more in line with what you got to do. 97 yards on 25 carries. Detroit might have a little bit of success, but they're also going to have some times where you stop them and you force them into obvious passing situations. And this is where the Cowboys' strength in their coverage can take over a little bit because Jared Goff is not necessarily the best quarterback when it comes to I have to be accurate all the time, right? And if he's not accurate, the Cowboys will make him pay. Trayvon Diggs will intercept that ball. Deron Bland will take that thing back for a touchdown. Kalen Carson, he will get his hands on the ball. I don't know if he'll catch it, but he'll get his hands on the ball. Jay Lou will pop that thing out. He'll bat that ball down. He'll be physical. He'll get in the head of the receivers in the game. This is the type of game, and I know this sounds crazy because when we talk about the Cowboys, right, and most years past, we criticize their toughness. But for me this year, the Cowboys are actually, that's probably more so their calling card this year, is their toughness. They need to play with a chip on their shoulder. They need to get into the head of the other team. They need to get their hands on them, be physical at the line of scrimmage, make the refs throw the flags. Make them. The Cowboys are the fifth most penalized team or the fourth most penalized team in the league, and the Lions are the fifth most penalized team in the league. So we're going to see a lot of flags this game no matter what. So screw it. Make the refs throw those flags. Let's see what happens. But in critical situations, third downs, punts, when you're about to get off the field, don't get those flags. So it's a fine line that you're walking there. You want to be in their face. You want to let them know, hey, I'm going to be here all day long. This is going to be a challenge. But also you want to make sure that you're smart. But thank you guys for tuning in. That's all I got for you. You can follow me on Twitter at jmilleriyl. You can also hit me up via email, knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. Again, that's knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. You can also hit me up, knockersonthebottom@gmail.com. You can leave comments below. Anything that you want me to cover, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up an email, hit me up in the comments below. I'll cover anything. I'll answer any questions that you have, put it into a mailbag format, make it a regular segment. But thank you guys for tuning in. I love you so much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so that you know when I'm coming on. But until next time, I'm your host, J Mill. J Miller if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.